Seventh time lucky. Okay, we seem to be on. Hey, let me just check that my internet is fine. Yes. You never know what's going to happen. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good everything, good beautiful, whatever in the world or wherever in the world you're living. We're having a blue Monday. Yeah? We were having a few technical issues, but they seem to be ironed out now. So welcome to Brice and Stephanie, Mystery Monday. And I hope you girls are wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. This has been hysterical, guys. This is like typical of what old Mercury gets mischievous during his retrograde. So it's been the tap dance of technology this morning. So
I was in a pretty bad mood up until this whole technological issue, which had me laughing. So thank you, Shanti, for brightening my day with your technological experiences going.
Well, it is Mystery Monday after all. We've got to keep you guys like a little bit mystified about what's going on here, right?
Yes, can we talk about how we were actually doing the show, and then Shanti realized we weren't live. That was
we were also on the wrong channel too.
And the worst is you're chatting away mid-sentence and then gulp, you realize,
It was comical.
I know it was a dress rehearsal for us for this live show, and Shanti was like, "We're not even recording, we're not even live, we're just going about the presentation to ourselves." So.
Like, something very weird is going on here. Anyway, here we are. Everything is good. So I clean forgot even what I was going to say. We're talking about Plum Island today. Now, I have to say, Plum Island I've never heard about before. So I look forward to hearing all about Plum Island. Yeah, over to you two, beautiful.
Stage before we get started, because this is really important. Really important. I mean, we got the funeral going on other channels, that incredible funeral that is happening right now, and then here we are. We're just trying to talk about Plum Island and the Montauk monster. And
do I need to get my stage as well? I bought a whole big one.
Oh yeah, this one has some problems lighting. No, I think it's just I think this is typical of Mercury retrograde. This is so typical of what happens during Mercury retrograde.
So, for the fact that I'm looking everywhere for notes on this topic, luckily I've done this presentation a couple of times, so I memorized most of it, but I'm just like, so before we even went on the supposed live show that wasn't really a live show, I'm like scrambling trying to find something, and I'm like, what is going on here? I had my notes in a specific spot and they just vanished.
Welcome to the shit show. This is why we came to planet Earth, guys.
So if my presentation is a shit show, that is to blame. I think we'll be fine though. I think we'll be fine.
My question, if there are any off-worlders watching right now, what happens when Earth goes into retrograde? Like, if we're planet 2,
oh my God.
Seriously, I think Earth's been in retrograde for a very long time. My personal opinion. So maybe we should start going direct, right?
Yeah. That's our plan, is to go direct. Oh man! Well, fingers crossed, guys, that we can get this episode out, because Stephanie is actually going to take the lead. And as we were saying when we thought we were recording, usually I'm the one that does the deep research and Stephanie divinates. But it's kind of going to be flipped now, because you felt the need. Like, you had all of a sudden, I had never heard of Plum Island either, Shanti, and I'm from the United States. So all of a sudden, Stephanie was like, we need to look into Plum Island. We need to look into Plum Island. And then she took the bull by the horns and did all this research. And holy crap. Talk about Mystery Monday. What the hell is happening on that island?
So a little bit of a background about my history. I've known Plum Island since I was 5 years old. And the reason being is my family, we owned a sailboat, and it's right literally I don't know, it's a 20, 30-minute sail off the coast of Connecticut. Plum Island does belong to New York, but great. My dog is trying to chase a squirrel from window to window to window in addition to everything going on. So if you hear a little on the floor, that's the dog. So I grew up with us sailing around this island. We would go into what's called Plum Gut, and that is the gap between Long Island and Plum Island. So I'm gonna I can bring up a map here in a second. I'm just kind of giving a background on how I know what Plum Island is, because literally I'm not too far away from it. I'm about 45 minutes away from the shoreline. And so we would visit the shoreline every single weekend, and from like, I don't know, April all the way till October, November. Going to the boat every single weekend, and was pretty much the highlight of my childhood, was going to the shoreline. I don't know what it is. The ocean is magical to me. So that was like, if I had a terrible childhood, which I didn't have a completely terrible childhood, but that was my highlight in terms of like what I value most about my childhood, was going down to the shoreline and going sailing. I was blessed to have that experience. But I remember sailing on the boat, and, you know, we would ask questions about this little island that you could not go to. And I remember my dad saying to me, it was off limits. Only certain people could go to this island that were like scientists. And there was a lot of conspiracies around the island. And so it was like probably a week after Brice had left Connecticut, when she came to visit me, I was very inspired to start researching about places around me, because, you know, Brice, you do a lot of research around Georgia and everything, and then you expand it outward. And I was like, I never really realized how much mysteries I had in my own backyard. So I don't know what it was. Maybe it was divine. I think it was divine. There was 3 different places I had in mind. It was Plum Island, Fisher's Island, and Newport, Rhode Island. Newport, Rhode Island is really, really like loaded with money. So that would have been a fun topic, but I don't know, because of the conspiracies around Plum Island, I felt very led to kind of open this can of worms. Not the first person to open a can of worms on this place. There's a book that's written, I'm reading it on my channel, by Michael Christopher Carroll, called Lab 257. So if you go to my channel, I have episode 1 out. Episode 2 is going to come out probably Wednesday or Thursday. So I am reading that on my channel, and I'm going to be reading that on the Dark Outpost. So let's get into Plum Island, shall we?
Well, can we explain a little bit for the people who are not from the United States?
I'm going to bring up a map now.
The Long Island, the fact that Long Island, it kind of like shoots off of Long Island. And Long Island, guys, for those who are not from the United States, is kind of connected to New York City. And so this is where we have the Hamptons. Long Island is very, very, very elite and very, very, very wealthy. And so Plum Island kind of shoots off of Long Island. And then you have the area inside the Long Island, which is the Long Island Sound, which then that's the shoreline of Connecticut.
Can you guys see that?
No, I can't.
Coming up. It's still coming up.
So I'm just going to, once you have it up, Shanti, I'm just going to show everybody what we're looking at here.
So I see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you have, can you see my pointer?
Yes, where New York is.
Yeah. Yep. So this is New York, and this long strip, for those that are not familiar with this area or from the United States, this is Long Island right here. It's a pretty large island. If you've heard of the Hamptons, that is a very rich area where a lot of celebrities live for the summertime often. That's on this particular island. I have been to Long Island. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then we have Montauk, which is the little point right here. Now I'm going to scroll in a little bit. All right. And we're going to go, this is Gardiner's Bay, which is where Plum Island is. And see that little itty bitty island right here? That is Plum Island. So you can see in retrospect how small it is compared to the rest of these islands around here. You guys can see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to share a picture of, hold on.
And as you said earlier, like we couldn't just go on the island. It's only specific people who are granted permission to go on this island. Even with your dad in the sailboat, he could not dock on Plum Island.
No.
You couldn't even get close to it, right?
You can get close to it to a certain degree. Where is it? Hold on. I'm trying to pull up a picture of Plum Island. What on earth? Hold on.
Is Mercury batting up its? Let me light more sage.
No, it's because I accidentally clicked out of it. That's why. I'm pulling it up now. Hold on. I told you it's like a doozy day. All right. That should be good. We got this. All right. All right, we got it. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, Shanti?
Yeah, it's coming up. There we go. It's coming up now.
All right.
Yeah, there
So
it is.
The one here in this box right here, where my pointer is, this is Plum Island. So these are different images of Plum Island. All right. Just so everyone can kind of see what it looks like. And I mean, it's pretty small. It's 840 acres in size. It is 1.5 miles off of the tip of Long Island. Again, it doesn't have an actual population. The population is just employees that are scientists or part of the Plum Island Animal Disease Control, which we're going to get into. So I'm just going to read a couple of things here to kind of give some background on this island. Plum Island is an island in the town of Southold, Suffolk County, New York. The island is situated in Gardiner's Bay, which I showed you guys, east of Orient Point, off the eastern end of North Fork coast of Long Island. It's about 3 miles long. Like I said, it's in acres. That's 840 acres. The island is the site for the Plum Island Animal Disease Center, which was established by the United States Department of Agriculture, also known as the USDA, in 1954. The island is also the site of the former U.S. military installation of Fort Terry, which was the lab that was created there, which we're going to get further into. Fort Terry was established in 1897. And the historic Plum Island Light, there's a lighthouse that was established there in 1869 and is it's an automated lighthouse now for like ships that are coming in to the area. Now, in 2003, I believe, or 2002, the Homeland Security took over Plum Island. Now, what is in Plum Island? So Plum Island, so what happened was after World War II, we had Operation Paperclip, which Operation Paperclip was where they brought in 1,600, I don't want to trigger the algorithm on YouTube, NAZI scientists, okay, from Germany. They brought that over. They brought all those people over. They brought one particular scientist over, Dr. Erich Traub. He worked under Heinrich Himmler. For those of you who know who that is or don't know who that is, go ahead, Brice.
We talked about Heinrich Himmler on this channel before when we talked about Bevelberg Castle, like last year. We were going through all the castles. He was high up directly under Hitler and very much into the occult, very much into the dark arts. Himmler, in my opinion, Himmler was way more psychopathic than Hitler was. Like Himmler was like, he was very bad, very bad. And so I guess, well, I don't know, since the channel went down, I don't know if people could go back and see the Bevelberg Castle episode we did last year where we talked a lot about Himmler. Bad guy, real bad guy.
Really bad guy. And so right underneath him was this Dr. Erich Traub. And he worked with him in 1942 in biological warfare. Okay. At the end of World War II, he was brought to the United States through Operation Paperclip, where he started the lab on Plum Island. That lab was the original. Hello.
She's the star. She's the star.
Yeah, she wants to be the star. So
She knows it.
she's just like, you guys have had a lot of mess ups already today. I'm just going to add more. Doozy Monday, we'll call it that. So the military installation base, Fort Terry, they had turned into this laboratory. Well, what was this laboratory? It was the Center for Animal Disease Control that was looking into different certain things that go into your arm for foot and mouth disease, and certain other things. But however, the mystery lies behind this Dr. Eric Traub and what he has done with biological warfare. Now, there is a lot of speculation and a lot of proof at this point, I would say, that they have been taking humans and animals and mixing DNA. And I'm going to bring up a picture here. This is called the Montauk monster. And this was a animal hybrid. Yeah. So let me bring that up.
And I think it's so important because when we start to talk about to people who are not aware of this stuff, like they want proof that these controllers are doing this nefarious things. Well, then you have things like the Montauk monster that actually washed up on the shoreline. This animal hybrid looking thing actually this was in the newspaper that it washed up on the shoreline.
You guys see that?
What the hell is that?
So there's many different things that people think it is, but it washed up dead on the shore. All right. And so this is a product of mixing different DNAs together. All right. So yeah, this thing is bizarre.
This is horrific.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Let me go back. So anyways, yeah, that was something that washed up on the shore. There's been other various things that have washed up on the shore as well. On the shore of Connecticut, on the shore of New York, on the shore of Massachusetts. That all stem from this Plum Island.
I'm just interested to know, how do these things... I understand they're obviously bred on Plum Island, but how do they wash up on the shore? I mean, would these people... I mean, they would not just throw them in the water without destroying them, I guess, right? But I guess maybe they escape. I don't know. That thing doesn't look like it can walk. It looks like it's got...
Yeah,
I don't know.
believe this thing was an escapee, is my assumption, because if I read correctly, there might have been human DNA within this thing, unfortunately. So my theory is, now if we're looking at the proximity between New York City, Long Island, and Plum Island, this is sorry, there's a lawnmower now going next door, so I do apologize. It's like one more thing. I kid you. You can't make this up. So it's like you have this city, okay? And there's a lot of poverty in cities. I mean, there's the rich end of New York City. You know, you do have your richer areas. I mean, DJT is from New York City, right? And then you have Long Island, which is a very rich area. And then you have Plum Island. So this is where it gets bizarre. From what I was reading, there is a submarine base underneath Plum Island. In addition to that, in Connecticut, here in our shoreline, New London area, is where they make the military submarines called Electric Boat. Okay. So we got some weird, the proximity of where places are next to each other. This is a perfect situation for bringing in little people, potentially. And I haven't read anything about any of that. But this is just my speculation. We know what happens on these islands, right? So what makes Plum Island any different? You can't go there. Why can't you go there? And you know what? They can say they're doing all these science experiments and all this other stuff with this Center for Animal and Disease Control. But I think there's other fishy stuff going on. Now, just to put it in perspective, you have the lab that's in, I'm going to be very careful how I put this, where a certain flu originated from. And that is a level 4 lab. The one on Plum Island is a level 3 lab. So level 4 is the most dangerous, most potent diseases. And then you have this level 3 lab. Now, this level 3 lab on Plum Island is the only laboratory in the United States that can work with live viruses. All the other ones below it, even I believe the CDC works with dead viruses. Okay. So the odd part too is they're shutting down the laboratory in Plum Island by next year, and they are putting it in Manhattan, Kansas by next year. Now, Kansas, for those who don't live in the United States, this is in the middle of where all of our livestock is, the cows. This is the livestock belt. It's not just the Bible belt, it's the livestock belt.
It's just farmland, flat farmland.
Yeah, all flat farmland. So the thing is, they're doing all these experiments, and the water surrounding it kind of keeps it at a bare minimum of exposure, but now they're putting it in the heartland of our agriculture. So that's very concerning to me. So with this laboratory, like I said, there's a sub base. There's really weird things going on here. They have hired veterinarians that come in. These veterinarians are not puppy loving vets. They do bad things to animals, okay? They probably are torturing them and other sorts of various things. Again, I do believe they do have little people on this particular island, or at least humans, and doing certain experiments with it. Now, with that said, there is also another big thing that came out of Plum Island besides this Montauk sea monster, and it's called Lyme disease. Shanti, have you heard of Lyme disease?
I can't say I have. What is that? Sorry, that seems. Now I feel a bit ignorant here, but
no, that's okay.
Sure.
No, it's okay. It's big in the United States. They test it comes from ticks, is what they tell us. Is that
this Dr. Eric Traub, he was big into biological warfare. Well, they used ticks back in Europe for biological warfare. So now they brought it to this Plum Island area. And in 1975, there was a bunch of parents wondering what the heck is wrong with their kids, because kids go play in the long, tall grasses by the shoreline, you know. And so all of a sudden, a lot of these kids in Old Lyme, Connecticut, which my grandmother has a beach cottage in Old Lyme, Connecticut. And I spent my summers not only on the boat, but also there as well. And sorry if you guys are hearing this lawnmower going on. Can you hear it?
It's fine. I've got people building next door too. So
okay,
it's a Monday, another Monday.
We live in regular places, everyone.
Exactly.
Normal lives over here. So as an 18-wheeler is going really loud across, I'm like, what is happening? So,
well, I mean, would you guys have ticks in South Africa? You have ticks, don't you, in South Africa?
Yeah. We have plenty.
We
Of
would do
ticks,
that as kids. We go play outside in the summertime, especially, and then we'd have to do a tick check, where our parents would check our hair just to make sure that they got to check your dog for ticks. So this is like, if we're looking at like evil geniuses, what a great way to spread a virus is through a tick. It's going to get on animals. It's going to get on children. It's going to get on hikers.
Mm-hmm. So the thing about these ticks are they're little deer ticks. Deer ticks are extremely tiny. You notice them when they start blowing up from sucking your blood, okay? That's how you really notice it. The thing about these ticks is they have something within their saliva that attaches to your skin, and it creates this numbing sensation, so you don't itch, you don't feel them, and they have these teeth that are hooks that literally hook right into your skin. They bury their heads, If you try to remove a tick without getting the head of it, you're going to rip it in half, okay? We dealt with this a lot in the medical field. There's certain devices you can use to remove ticks really easily called a tick key or something like that. Now, the thing about Lyme disease is it is extremely dangerous if left untreated. My dog had Lyme disease 2 years ago. And I've been checked many, many times because I had the symptoms as well. The treatment initially is just oral antibiotic doxycycline. And another medication can also cure it, which starts with an IVER. You guys know what I'm talking about with that. I'm not going to say it on YouTube. But I'm going to show you guys what happens when you get bit by one of these ticks, because there's something specific that happens. And
is this the same as normal? I mean, yeah, with us, we obviously get those little red ticks. I don't know if you call them the same thing. They're teeny tiny. But when they get to a certain stage, their legs go stripy. And when they get to that stage, and if they bite you, that's when you get, well, we have tick bite fever and the animals get biliary fever. I don't know if it's the same. I've had tick bite fever. Wow, that was not fun.
Lyme's disease, like my sister, they tested my sister's. Lyme's disease also will carry on throughout your life. Like once you have Lyme's disease, it's like it's a continual battle that they consider it autoimmune.
If you don't treat it right away, that is.
Yeah.
You know, if you treat it right away, you take your oral antibiotics for 21 days and you're usually fine. The thing about this Lyme disease is the testing of Lyme disease can come off as a false negative, really. And you have also different types of illnesses that are also coming from this. You have ehrlichiosis, anaplasmosis, babesiosa, which all have a host of different debilitating symptoms. This is the rash you get when you get bit by one of these ticks. This is what we would call a bullseye rash in the medical field. So this is very, very typical for a tick bite, specifically with Lyme infection, okay? Now, that's just the start of it. I'm going to go over some of the symptoms so you guys can understand, especially if you're not from the United States, what this looks like, all right? So this bacteria, it's a bacteria infection caused by the bite of a deer tick carrying the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi, a cousin to the spirochete bacterium responsible for syphilis, okay? Early diagnosis and treatment can lead to a good prognosis. Symptoms may dissipate and also have full recovery. It will always show up on your blood test if you get Lyme disease, though, and it will show as an older infection if treated. Undiagnosed or late diagnosis leads to lifelong term severe complications and also can lead to death, okay? Other symptoms besides the bullseye rash are chills, fever, fatigue, like no amount of sleep can help the fatigue, muscle and joint pain. Also, you can get swelling in the joints, severe headache. That is a big one. It's like a headache that just will not go away. Facial palsy, which is similar to the Bell's palsy, where you have literally paralysis on one side of the face, because this affects the central nervous system. Irregular heartbeat is very common in later treatment and diagnosis. The bacteria compromises the electrical capacity, leading to the heart, and it causes heart block and irregular heartbeat. So because it complicates the electrical component of your heart is literally it's like an electricity center. Okay, you have the SA node. The SA node in the heart then sends a message out to the bundle branches of the heart, which then contract the atrium on the top and the ventricles on the bottom. And this affects that particular component of the heart. So then you're going to get the scattered heart rhythm. Abnormal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it some people who get diagnosed later end up having to have transplants as well? Like, will have to have like possibly kidney transplant, liver transplant. I've heard of that before with Lyme's disease.
Your organs will start to go in failure, and it is possible that you might need to get transplants. It's very rare. I've never seen it in my experience where we had someone with Lyme disease get a transplant. However, because it's so prominent in the New England states, Diagnosis and treatment is often done very early on. Most people will get the tick bite and literally go on doxycycline right as soon as they get bit by the tick. So because it is such a prominent thing here. Now, if you were to get this rash, probably where, let's say, Shanti, you are, you know, most people probably there have not really heard of this or understood those symptoms. So they might get a late diagnosis. Somebody in California might get a late diagnosis because it is so heavily infested here in New England. It's like every other person has had Lyme disease. I'm actually shocked I've never had it. I've speculated I've had it with a false negative test, but I've never had a positive test. And I have been on doxycycline before, which, by the way, is a very harsh antibiotic on your stomach. And also other symptoms include abnormal sensations of the limbs. You might get burning, stabbing, sharp tingling, and numbness sensations. Inflammation throughout your whole body. Liver swelling can lead also to hepatitis. Inflammation of the joints can lead to severe arthritis. Cognitive issues are very, very common. This includes memory loss, concentration and alertness issues, brain fog, mental processing issues, along with severe mental health issues. We're talking like bipolar-like symptoms, severe anxiety, severe depression. It's been noted, I believe, that certain people have literally removed themselves from the planet because they get so debilitated. Seizures can occur if undiagnosed. I have a family member that I don't know very well on my dad's side of the family, my biological dad's side of the family, which I'm not familiar with them. I don't really know them that well. And she had undiagnosed Lyme disease, and she gets seizures once in a while, and she's got a whole host of problems. She's like disabled at this point because she went 11 years undiagnosed. Now, this Borrelia burgdorferi bacteria was named after Dr. Wally Burgdorf, which is just an extra little thing that I researched there. But yeah, this particular disease, the reason I bring it up is it originates from this Plum Island. They created this disease, put it in the ticks, and then the ticks, what happens is if the tick is infected with the disease, it goes to the eggs, which then leads into more ticks having it, and then more ticks having it. And the thing is, it goes on the deer tick, and the deer can actually swim up to 4 miles. Most people don't realize how far deer can swim, but they can swim up to 4 miles. Plum Island is not that far from the shoreline. So it attaches to the deer from the island, and then it goes onto shore. And now you have an infected population. So in 1975, all these kids started to get all these weird symptoms. And it was brought to the Department of Health in Connecticut to analyze, which they just hired a Yale University doctor, or a couple doctors from Yale University. And we know what happens at Yale. That's where Skull and Bones come from. Okay. The Bush family. So it's like they're not going to get any help that they need. This has been a major crisis in the New England states for quite some time, and has spread to Canada, has spread to the South, has spread to the West. I mean, it's everywhere now on the North American continent. So anyways, did you want to add anything, Brice?
No, it's because I don't think down in the South, I think people typically get diagnosed later in the South. We have a lot of farmlands down here in the South as well. And I think I know my sister was tested for Lyme's disease a few years ago because her autoimmune issues were so bad that they needed it, but it came back negative. And I know that it can be extremely debilitating. There was a few years ago, there was a reality star on the Beverly Hills Housewives that had Lyme's disease, and they actually showed her struggles with it, because if it's not diagnosed right away, it's a lifelong issue that people are dealing with. And it totally, when you talk about Plum Island, this is a totally man-made weapon.
Yeah.
And how clever to put it into ticks that are then, because this the whole East Coast, we're talking about Appalachia, the whole East Coast is just a bunch of trees and woods and there's deer everywhere. We have deer overpopulation of deer here in Georgia. And so, yeah, I mean, I know kids know, I mean, even at 39 years old, if I'm outside, I have to do a tick check. We have to check the dog for ticks. You know, it's bad for animals too, right, Stephanie? Like if your dog gets Lyme's disease.
Yeah. So I'll go into what happens with animals. So for me, and I'd spoken to a couple other people regarding their animals as well. One of the biggest things, and sorry to get a little graphic here, my dog was having a hard time squatting to go to the bathroom. Okay. And I'm very close with my dog. My dog is like my familiar. She's my baby. She's my best friend, you know, so I recognize, and I'm also an animal empath. So I do recognize when there's that little subtle change in her. It wasn't drastic. It was just very, very subtle. And I mentioned something to the veterinarian, and they just kind of chalked it off to, well, you know, just keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. And then that same day, she's like, my dog was going for her yearly vet check anyways. So they did run the test, and she goes, actually, now we know why she's having a hard time squatting. And it's because of the Lyme disease. It does affect your bones and your joints and everything, and causes a lot of pain. And, another person I had talked to, her dog could not walk. Literally woke up one day, couldn't even walk, and it was a young dog. It wasn't a baby puppy, but it was that in-between stage of puppy and dog. And so she had given her dog, she had brought her dog to the veterinarian. It was tested positive, and she ended up giving her dog ivermectin, you know, the rest. I don't want to trigger the algorithm on YouTube and make Shanti lose her channel again. I'm trying my best. This is a hard topic to do on YouTube. But yeah. And then 2 days later, her dog was able to walk because it does treat it. So my dog has actually been displaying some weird symptoms again. So I actually got some of that myself to treat her once again, because she has had interesting problems. And the other thing to notice about your animals too, because a lot of us aren't like Catherine and can't talk to our animals yet, is just, you know, noticing the subtle changes in their behavior. Are they getting tired and sluggish? Are they as active as usual? Now, my dog is a Zoomy queen, okay? She's a husky and a boxer mix, okay? And she's best of both worlds, right? So Brice knows my Abby, and she's a bundle full of energy, needless to say. So when she starts getting like low on energy and her eyes look very droopy, and so just something just doesn't feel off, you know, always follow your gut, and just, you know, it doesn't hurt to get your animals checked and whatnot to see if they have it. Because she was diagnosed with it a couple of years ago, I kind of look at it where it could be some symptoms coming back, because I don't know how long she had it for before her diagnosis and treatment. I don't know. She did get bit by 3 ticks earlier this year. Luckily, they were not.
And that's the thing about this type of warfare is, like, if it's created, they've obviously, if we remember back to the first commandment from the Georgia Guidestones, maintain human population at 500 million people. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
How are you going to commit
that? This is a brilliant plan to do something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've said that before. These people are satanic and evil, but they're not stupid. These are some of the smartest peoples on our planet are in these clubs, these controllers. And because they have no empathy, because they have no soul, because they have no conscious compassion, they're able to use their intelligence to the highest levels of evil. You know, but a smart person with a moral compass wouldn't do this, you know. So, and it is an evil genius. This is like an evil genius to take this and create this in a lab and to put it on a tick that's everywhere. And you're right, it spreads so rapidly because ticks are everywhere.
Yeah. So the lab that is located on Plum Island has 24/7 patrol all around the perimeter of the island, by the way. And I'm going to bring up next a picture of what this laboratory looks like before I forget here. It's not that big, but the interesting part about this, let me just pull this up really quickly, and then I'll tell you guys about this particular lab. Can you see that, Shanti?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay. So sorry, I can't blow up the picture. I tried blowing up this picture and it wouldn't let me. This is the front of it right here. This is the aerial view. So in order to leave this laboratory for the day after your shift, you have to take mandatory showers. There is a holding tank for the water with any contaminant on it to be re-purified and everything like that. So yes, you have to take a shower before you leave your shift. In addition to that, they have like vacuum sealed doors so that things cannot leave the island at all. Okay. So when we're talking about all that kind of stuff, that's very fishy to me. This is very, very suspicious that they have to have all these protocols in order for you to just leave the island, to leave the building, right? Just very suspicious. And then they have special boats or ferries that bring them back to the shore. So yeah, it's really, really suspicious. And I mean, I'm just starting to dive into this book. And if anybody wants to dive in deeper with me, I'm, reading this book, like I said, on my channel and everything like that. But this gentleman, this Christopher Carroll, he spent most of his life researching this place. And so the first chapter alone was extremely interesting. And it discusses how this man got a tick bite. And he went from being able to hoist a bunch of grains over his shoulder on his farmland or whatnot. And suddenly he could hardly lift 4 pounds. And he used to play multiple musical instruments. He can't do that anymore. He's pretty much using all of his strength to combat this illness. And also, too, the other thing that he complains about in this particular chapter is that he could have easily just gotten a $15 dose of doxycycline. However, he was diagnosed later on, and now he's spending most of his money on IV antibiotic treatment. And he had to take out multiple mortgages on his house because he can't afford the medication that goes with the treatment of this. So it's really taking a toll on some of the population here in the Northeast and, obviously in other places of the United States. So yeah, it's pretty detrimental what is occurring here. My theory too is that they were also creating some more stuff to go around to remove some of the population going further. And I think that's one of the reasons why they wanted to move the laboratory to the heartland of the United States. I don't know.
So it spreads faster, especially if you're talking about, all three of us on this screen right now are vegetarians, but if we're looking at the cattle population, most of America is meat eaters. So what happens if the cows contract Lyme's disease and it goes into the food? What a way to annihilate a huge population of people. And you're right. It's that like, you'll own nothing and be happy. You're going to get so sick if it's not diagnosed right away that you're going to be spending all your money just trying to combat it. And families are going to lose their houses. Medical bills here in the United States are through the roof for anything. So it's an evil genius plan. I mean, it's literally an evil genius plan. And it's all.
When did you? Sorry, Brice. Stephanie, when did you say they started operating off this island, this Plum Island?
This the operation started at the end of World War II, so like I think 1945-ish. But the Lyme disease stuff started in 1975. So
is it fair to say, because obviously I'm so tired of our poor animals being blamed. First it was the bat in China, then the humble pangolin, then the green monkey in Africa that started AIDS and all sorts of things like that. So obviously these guys really have but I mean, you know what, if we just looking back, I don't know if you guys have listened to any of the interviews that I did with Jesse. We were speaking exactly what these guys do, because what they would literally take a mother that's pregnant and they then operate in their obscene ways on that fetus, putting on like a pig's nose, pig's hooves, and that child is actually born like a human with pig nose and hooves on. She's often spoken about that. And I actually asked her if she's seen it. She said, yes, there's one that wanders around there wearing like monk robes. Yeah. So I don't know where that is exactly, but it's clear that they love this. It's called a genealogy, right? What they do. I mean, it's just disgusting. And now, so this whole thing is just so that I can understand it clearly. Are you saying they've actually concocted some kind of a poison and spread it through the tick eggs or into the tick? So when the tick lays eggs, it then literally has the ability to, I mean, tick bite fever is bad. I mean, tick bite fever is, I don't know, I mean, is that the same thing? Tick bite fever, right? If you guys must get tick bite fever there then, or biliary for the
I
animals.
just know Lyme's disease. I'm going to look that up quickly and see if they are the same thing. But yeah, it's not the tick's fault. It's not the deer's fault. This is all human concocted.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm seeing right here if it's Lyme's disease, if it's the same thing.
And then after,
because I had tick bite fever, and I mean, and what it does is the tick bite fever actually makes your organs implode. That it shuts down your organs if you don't treat it. And of course, me being Miss Healer decided, no, I'm not going to the doctor. On day 8, I decided today I have to go to the doctor. It was the first time in 20 years then I took antibiotics. And that's why I say antibiotics for something like that is amazing. But I'm just interested to know, when we're looking at Lyme's disease versus biliary fever, because that's what we call it here, that our animals get from tick bite, especially dogs. Cats not so much, but more the dogs get biliary fever from the ticks. And then, but it's also they get to a certain stage. They're born little red things, obviously, tiny little red things, and then as they grow, but then they get to a certain stage, and when their legs go stripy. And when their legs are stripy, and if they bite you, then that's when
it's a little different here. These ticks are brown, and they don't get striped legs. They just blow up 3 times the size of their original size.
They become blue when they're like huge. It's like this big blue disgusting thing.
Oh, yeah, these ones are brown. They stay brown.
It looks like they're 2 different things from what I'm seeing. Now, our ticks do, from what I'm seeing here for the CDC, for Lyme disease, they do turn very red, the ticks that carry the disease. And you can see pictures. I don't know how to share a screen, but they actually have pictures here
I'll bring it
up of ticks burrowing their head into the skin.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting, which is different from non-Lyme disease ticks, because non-Lyme disease ticks are just black. Like the ones that you pull off your dog are just solid black.
But the thing is, with any of the ticks, though, you have to pull their head out, because, as you said, they've got those like little pincher things. And if you leave it in your skin or your animal's skin, it makes a massive infection.
All right, I'm going to pull it up in a second here, if I can find it.
It's interesting. We look at like our illnesses from insects like malaria, which I know is big in Africa. We used to have malaria here in the southeastern United States. For the original settlers, malaria was a huge issue, but it's gone now from this area.
This is what they look like after they've burrowed in.
It's that is so disgusting. Look at that big fat juicy. Oh,
yep.
So gross.
Gross.
Yeah. Sorry for the viewers if this is disgusting.
It is seriously disgusting.
At this poor deer. They feed off of the deer. So, I mean, this is awful. So I'll get that off the screen because I don't want to keep looking at that. What I'm going to show you guys, though, real quick here is where Old Lyme is in proximity of Plum Island.
We just lost Shanti. Oh, there she is. I was like, where's Shanti? Where's our host?
I don't know. I just disappeared and now I'm back again. And it's lovely to see you back again.
I was like, oh, crap. I don't even know how to end the broadcast if Shanti's gone.
Chatting away.
He's staring at Stephanie and me all day because we don't know how to end the broadcast. So I'll let the audience watch me fold my laundry. And
so this is Old Lyme right here. This is the Connecticut River that comes out right here. Okay. And this little area, like I said, is Old Lyme area. And then if you come out this way, there you go. Good old Plum Island right there. So you see the deer off of this island then swam. This is only a couple of miles. This is not a large body, right? Body of water. I honestly could swim it. And I know that sounds really, really crazy. I used to do long distance swimming. So I used to swim several miles a day. So yeah, this is not a large body of water. So for the deer to go across here, it doesn't take much. And like I said, then you have this big, massive stretch of land, which is this Long Island. You have the Hamptons, and then you have New York City. And again, you know, it's just like what I look at is you have a city that has probably a lot of poverty in certain areas, a lot of CPS, so Children Protective Services, and you know they're probably shipping little people someplace, right? And you have the elitists that live on Long Island, just like they live in Martha's Vineyard, which that story was hilarious, by the way. What DeSantis did.
Did y'all hear about that, Shanti, over in South Africa? What happened?
No.
Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and Governor Abbott of Texas was so ticked off about the immigration stuff that's happening. So they DeSantis sent a plane to Martha's Vineyard where like Obama lives and all that kind of, and all the elitists live on Martha's Vineyard, sent a plane shipped with immigrants.
Illegal
and
immigrants.
Abbott sent 2 buses or 3 buses full of immigrants to Kamala Harris's house to prove a point. And it's funny because Martha's Vineyard and all of them, they're freaking out. Well, we don't have the accommodations and blah, blah. Yeah, you do. First of all, you got giant mansions. I mean, you can put them to work. You know what I mean?
Put your money where your mouth is.
So it's making a statement like, okay, well, we don't have any more room for these people, so we're just going to ship them to you and see how you like it. Yeah, I thought it was genius.
But that whole area is that wealthy. I mean, we're talking Long Island, like that's the elite. That is a lot. Not everybody on Long Island, obviously, but we have a lot of elite. I was watching a true crime documentary a couple of years ago about a neighborhood in Long Island where there was a lot of ritualistic shenanigans going on, we'll say, and someone was investigating, and that's right there. That's right there. So if you're trying to get little ones to a particular place not for good reasons, then you can use your cohorts.
You know, I'm going to bring up that map one more time because I also want to show you where the sub base is, okay? To also show where in proximity we're also talking about. Let me know when it's up on the screen. Okay. So, like I said, we have Old Lyme right here. We have Plum Island right here. Now we're going to go up the coast a little bit. Now we have New London Groton area. And in New London Groton, you have electric boat. It's also called EB. And so the submarine base is right in this little area right here in this river. Okay, so let me see if it comes up with, no, it's not going to come up with the sub base. But you come out of the mouth of this river and literally there's Plum Island. Wow. Then you have So if you can look at it, that's all the proximity of everything. It's just very suspicious to me. So, well, that's my state for you. Demonic.
Do we know anyone who's worked there or?
Oh, my biological dad worked there before he passed away.
Well, is there any way we can tap into him so he can blow some whistles for us?
Oh, he's already blown some whistles for me. But I'm not going to get into it on screen. Also, I do know a couple people that do work there. They make depending on what you do, you can make a shitload of money there. There's different scientists there. There's different draftsmen to make up the pretty much what they do is they actually build the submarines there. Okay?
Is it a community? Is it like an island where the community has houses as well, so you can live there, work there?
You're talking about the actual island. Okay, I was thinking of electric boat. So no,
the island itself. The island itself.
No. So there's only the laboratory. There's no houses, no nothing, just the laboratory on Plum Island, along with a lighthouse. The rest is just.
So you literally have to go across the waters every day to get to and from work for those that work there.
Yes.
That's always dodgy, right? That's always seriously dodgy when it looks there. I would like to actually know about if anyone out there knows anyone who's worked there.
I'll try to see what I can dig up. I feel like I probably know somebody, but because I'm local to the area, but then again, I
have a feeling a lot of them probably live on Long Island if they're making that much money. And Long Island's even closer proximity to Plum. I have a feeling a lot of them probably live very, very lavish lifestyles in the
Then you do have the facility workers. So there is a cleanup crew there, and I don't think they make a whole lot of money, but they're like the janitor staff. And what they do is they clean up the yucky stuff that happens there, and they're sworn under an NDA.
Of course they are. I mean, no doubt there's that's why I say it's so there will be all sorts of red tape and stuff around there. And I want to find somebody who worked there. Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you know anybody? Would Jessie know anybody you think that would have connections to Plum Island?
We can ask her. Poor Jess, every second day. Jess, do you know about this?
Poor Jessie.
That's why she's a badass.
Yeah.
She's a calm badass too. So
very calm. That's for sure. Wow, that's very interesting. I would actually love to know, because it really seems to me like what you're saying in a nutshell. These guys went from as part of Operation Paperclip, Operation Paperclip, and then they were sent there to start up some dodgy laboratories, which they've been using to test all sorts of disgusting, demonic type stuff that only they can concoct in their heads. It's just, to me, so bizarre that anyone even thinks that that's like, what do they think? Anyway, I'm not even going to try and get into that headspace. But so basically, it's like they're then creating all these half animal, half human DNA.
They're playing God.
Yeah.
They're trying to play God, which is what Lucifer does. I mean, they're playing God.
It's like the gray aliens. They have this fascination with mixing and mismatching DNA, and it's like human DNA is just so like golden, and to play around with it and play God, this is what they have fascinations with. And I would not be surprised if a doctor who is retiring, that starts with an FAUCI. You get where I'm going with that.
The Chinese vet. To be the Chinese vet himself.
I would not be surprised if he's affiliated with this island too.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
He's a New Yorker, isn't he?
I mean, well, I think this island is not just a concern for the United States. It's a concern for the world.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, these islands they're not just targeting the countries that own the land. They're targeting the world.
And they're using foot and mouth disease as a cover-up, in my opinion. So we had foot and mouth disease that ravaged Europe many, many years ago in the cattle industry, right? Well, supposedly they're using this foot and mouth disease as like what they tell the public that they're researching, and they've come up with these things for, I think it was 60 plus strands of foot and mouth disease. Seriously, I highly doubt there's 60 plus strands of it. And if there are, I mean, it's all man-made. So it's like a cover up of what they're actually doing. It's just ridiculous. They make it seem so extreme. So when you like actually remove the scales from your eyes and you actually wake up to this nonsense, you're like, seriously? you guys need to come up with some different statistics because your statistics, they suck.
Well, that's why the Montauk monster is so important in this, because when you try to tell a normal person, like, hey, the government doesn't have our best interests at heart, there's some weird things happening on this island. I'm sure there's multiple of these islands around the world. When you can actually show them the Montauk monster and be like, then what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Where did this come from? This is real. This actually happened. Don't tell me they're not doing something. That's why sometimes, bless its heart, when I see the Montauk monster, it breaks my heart. Like, I feel sad. I just want to hug it, But it gave its life, in my eyes, karmically, to prove a point.
Yeah.
It's evidence. It's evidence that there's something shady going on.
I mean,
someone just said in the chat that they have 400 employees.
Yep, that's correct.
It must be. And in fact, Carmen said something very interesting, which she was saying that church employees also have to sign NDAs. But now, isn't that interesting? You see, especially since we've been talking about the churches in weeks before, and like now we're talking about Plum Island and NDAs. And why would a church employee need to sign an NDA? Why? Would just so that you don't take that version of God's word to another church? I don't think so, right? There must be something more.
Something else is happening.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of pastors signed this thing where they, during the New World Order, they would allow or encourage their congregation to go into the camps.
Wow.
And they signed something to say that they would encourage all the church members to go into these camps during all of that. That was supposed to happen. And say, it's okay. You can go in there. It's not the mark of the beast. It's not this. It's not that. It's okay. You can do that. And I forgot what it's called. Do you remember what it's called, Brice? Somebody had mentioned.
But I will say, I know I've been back into doing a series of this book, and I was telling Stephanie, if you guys have this book, The Return of the Divine Sophia, chapter 6, I was reading it yesterday. She gets into the breakdown of what happened with the Bible itself. It's pretty incredible, and she brings her receipts. And so if you're someone who's still struggling with the reality that the church is part of the controller system, I would highly suggest getting this book, because that's going to be a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow.
Seriously, sorry, Brice. Anyone who thinks that the church is not part of seriously, look at the Vatican, the Catholic Church, which is the head of this planet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we just got to look at their audition room to see what it looks like in the shape of the head of the serpent. So really the church, and please, it's got nothing to do with people. There are hundreds and thousands of people out there who are innocent and have no idea. So I'm not talking about the people that go to the church. But in my opinion, the church is the infiltrator. The church hasn't been infiltrated. It is the infiltrator. So, and into everything, honestly, this has come through religion and division and all of that. But it's just what you're saying now as well is just another division of this evil. It's just another department, another fragment of the evil that exists in this world. And I mean, who even thinks it's okay? I want to know how those employees actually get jobs there. What do they have to do?
I would imagine that once they're there, they probably get them in a situation where they have blackmail over them. I would imagine that they probably filmed them doing some experiment. They not kind of like that honeypot with the sex, but this is with, and they say, oh well, we have you on camera of doing this experiment, even though you didn't know what it was. Now we own you. I would imagine that there's some of that going on. I would also imagine that some of these really top scientists. I mean, when I was in college, I had to read a book where like 1 in 20 people are technically psychopaths or sociopaths. And a lot of these 1 in 20 people, but we never know they're sociopaths. They end up climbing the ladder and coming on top of their career. So I think a lot of these like high ranking scientists, not all of them, but I think some of them probably are already pretty psychopathic to begin with.
the veterinarians that they hire are psychopathic, that are hired to go there, because like I said, they didn't go into veterinary school because they love puppies and kittens, you know. It's not that. It's more or less, no, they like experimenting on animals and
torturing. And there's doctors. There's a documentary I watched last night about a serial killer who was a surgeon, and they figured it out because of the way he could cut the bodies up. So it's human doctors too that just want to mess with people, and it's entertainment to them. They don't have that moral compass. And again, that's people. There are really smart people out there that are just as smart as these controllers, but they have a moral compass, which controls their behavior. So they would never think to do something like this, to hurt an animal or to hurt a human or to do something that could potentially hurt the population of the earth, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane.
Who would have thought a little tiny itty bitty island on the coast of New York and Connecticut?
Wow. Well, I wonder if people out there in other countries know of little islands off of their country where the same type of shenanigans is happening. You know, like are there islands off of South Africa where they have labs, or England or Europe?
I know inside. Sorry, Steph, carry on.
I think they also choose little areas that you wouldn't guess. Like, I mean, Brice and I did this deep dive into a cemetery that's in my town when she was here. And the shenanigans that took place there, and possibly still taking place there, who would have thunk a little tiny town that I live in, because I live really in a town really nobody really knows. I mean, it's not something where you go, I'm not going to say the town name because I don't want a bunch of people knowing where I live, but you know, it's like nobody would think, and it's a little tiny church with this cemetery. And so when we deep dived into it, we were like, are they choosing these little tiny areas in addition to everything so that they can still hide their stuff? You know what I mean? So it kind of makes me think of something like Plum Island, where it's so tiny you can hardly see it on the average map. You have to really zoom in on Google Maps in order to actually get the name of it and see it and everything like that. And like I said, the reason I knew about it was because I spent my whole childhood on the ocean pretty much sailing around this place and knowing that there were conspiracies behind it. So.
Wow. Gosh, would love to know some interesting information if someone has about anything that's been going on there. I think that would be very, very interesting. But as always, time flies when we're having fun. I actually can't believe we've hit an hour and 7 minutes already. Wow. It's been amazing. I thought we were like on half an hour. So, ladies, I want to say thank you for joining me again on this Monday of mysteries and magic and monstrosities. I think we should call it Monstrous Monday sometime. Okay. Yay. We'll see you back next week again. Look forward to seeing you. God bless you all. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, please give us a like, share, subscribe, share. Anything you ladies want to end off with before we bid each other farewell for now?
Well, thank you for letting me present this. This was my third presentation on this, and it's like one of those topics that's probably going to put me on a target list or something, but whatever. It's like God wanted me to present the facts on this island because I think it's an important topic, and I think we need to be mindful of what is in our backyard, right? So thank you for letting me share this on your show, Shanti, and thanks to all the audience listening in. Love you all.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Anything from you, Brice?